Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week. It's really warm out and sunny. I must go out and get outside today and do a little hiking or a walk out there. It's just beautiful. Anyway, amidst all the craziness, we're here again, and I thought I'd read some of excuse me, another John Berger reading, Bento's Sketchbook. How does the impulse to draw something begin? It's a whole book, so I don't think I'm going to go through the whole book, but I thought I would start and see where it goes. So this is the book. This autumn, the Quetch plum trees are overburdened. Quetch, Quetsch. The Quetch plum trees are overburdened with fruit. Some have branches that have snapped under the weight. I can't recall another year where there were so many plums. When ripe, those purple plums acquire a bloom, the color of dusk. At midday, if there's sunlight and it has been sunny for days on end, you see clusters of them, the color of dusk, hanging behind the leaves. Blueberries are the only other fruit which are as blue, but their blue is dark and gem-like, whereas the Quetch blue is like a vivid but vanishing blue smoke. The clusters of 4, 5, or 6 fruit grow like handfuls from small shoots of the tree's branches. From a single tree hang hundreds of handfuls. Early one morning, I decide to draw a cluster, perhaps to understand better why I repeatedly say handful. The drawing was clumsy and bad. I begin another. 3 handfuls away from the one I have chosen to draw, a small black and white snail, small as my fingernail, is asleep on the leaf it has been eating. The second drawing was as bad as the first, so I stopped and began the day's tasks. Towards the end of the afternoon, I returned to the plum trees with the idea of trying one more time to draw the same cluster. Perhaps due to the change of light, the sun was no longer in the east, but the west. I could not find or identify the cluster. I even asked myself whether I was under the right tree. I moved over to the next tree, stooping under its branches, peering up. There were countless Quetch, but not my handful. It would, of course, have been easy to draw another cluster, but something in me obstinately refused. I circled under the branches of both trees again and again, and then I spotted the snail. 30 centimeters to his left, I found my cluster. The snail had changed his position, but not his whereabouts. I took a good look at him. I began to draw. I needed a green to mark the leaves. At my feet were some nettles. I picked a leaf, rubbed it on the paper, and it gave me a green. This time I kept the drawing. Three days afterwards, it was time to harvest the plums. If put in barrels to ferment for a few months, you can distill an excellent slivovitz from them. They also make good jam and are wonderful on tarts. To harvest Quetch, you either shake the tree's boughs and many plums fall to the ground, or you climb up into the tree with a bucket and pick them by hand. The trees have incipient thorns and a multitude of twigs. High in the tree, you have the sensation of crawling through undergrowth, proceeding from one small blue smoke ring to another, and gathering in the palm of your free hand, warm thumb after warm thumb. You can hold 3 or 4 or 5, not more. This is why I call the clusters handfuls Inevitably, some of the fruit roll down your wrist and fall to the grass. When I was later on my knees picking up plums from the grass and dropping them into a basket, I came across several black and white snails who had fallen unhurt to the ground with the fruit. I placed 5 of them side by side, and to my surprise, it was easy for me to recognize the one who had been my guide. I made a drawing of him, a little over life size. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza, 1632 to 1677, generally known as Benedict or Bento de Spinoza, earned his living as a lens grinder and spent the most intense years of his short life writing on the improvement of the understanding and the ethics, both of which were only published posthumously. We know from other people's souvenirs and memories of the philosopher that he also drew. He enjoyed drawing. He carried a sketchbook around with him. After his sudden death, perhaps from silicosis, a consequence of his grinding lenses, his friends rescued letters, manuscripts, notes, but apparently didn't find a sketchbook. Or if they did, it later got lost. For years now, I have imagined a sketchbook with his drawings in it being found. I didn't know what I hoped to find in it. Drawings of what? Drawn in what kind of manner? De Hooch, Vermeer, Jan Steen, Gerard Dew were his contemporaries. For a while in Amsterdam, he lived a few hundred meters away from Rembrandt, who was 26 years his elder. Biographers suggest that the two of them probably met. As a draftsman, Spinoza would have been an amateur. I wasn't expecting great drawings in the sketchbook were it to be found. I simply wanted to reread some of his words, some of his starting propositions as a philosopher, whilst at the same time being able to look at things he had observed with his own eyes. Then last year, a Polish printer, who was a friend of mine living in Bavaria, gave me a virgin sketchbook covered with suede leather, the color of skin. And I heard myself saying, "This is Bento's." I began to make drawings prompted by something asking to be drawn. As time goes by, however, the two of us, Bento and I, become less distinct within the act of looking, the act of questioning with our eyes. We become somewhat interchangeable. And this happens, I guess, because of a shared awareness about where and to what the practice of drawing can lead. There's a little drawing he has. All right, I'm going to pause there. I'm going to continue that. That seems like a good, I'm going to continue this next week. See where it goes. All right. Hope you're all well. Drawing plums or snails or making other things. Okay. Hanging in. Be well. I'll talk to y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye.